let's call this meeting to order, and I'll go ahead and give the invocation to bow your heads with me, please. Heavenly Father, we give you just thanks and praise for the opportunity to serve you through serving our community. We thank you, Lord, for the members. All the members are here, and Lord, I pray that you would just be with us tonight as we make decisions to carry this district further and to be a support of this hospital going forward. I pray, Father, that you would bless each and every person here and watch over us as we leave this place tonight. I pray in Christ's name. Amen. Community input. I got Rod, Tyler.
Thank you. I've just got a couple things I'd like to mention to y'all. The word transparency, it was a very important word during the election, and I think we have gotten a little lax in that, and it is not, it can be improved on. One of my suggestions is that this board needs to look at the City of Gainesville's webpage as to what transparency really is. They have received many and numerous awards for their transparency. Every check ever written, every debit, every asset is on that page. And it is very open, and it is something to be admired. It is with regret to have to do an information request to find out many things about this hospital. I know a lot of things don't want to be talked about that are talked anyway. You know, 2 years ago we still are dealing with an FBI investigation, dealing with an ATM of 2 hospital employees. That has been pretty well buried, and no one ever wants to talk about that. But one of the best sources of transparency is the media. The media was not even notified about this meeting tonight. I don't know why. I'm sure that may have just been an oversight. I looked on the hospital webpage. I could not find the agenda posted. I'm sure that may have been fixed when they are. It just may have been my oversight. But a webpage is a very useful tool in finding out anything about a business. And this hospital is a business. Which brings us up to financials. I really am very proud of what CHC has done. They left you at the end of the year with over $8 million. Don't know where that came from, but it is very impressive. And I'm sure CHC said that is a problem, and we don't want that to happen again. And someone, I don't know where the idea came from, if it was a hospital or CHC. I'm kind of betting it was CHC that came up with an idea that what if we just lease this hospital for only $500,000 a year, then we would never ever have to pay $8 million in profit to the district. Thank you.
Well, we got election coming up. The last election was pretty interesting. People put up as much as $25,000 to get some people elected. So I'm just thinking where we're at, where we've been. A couple of people signed up for re-election, and during their time, there was $15 million in reserve. Seemed like got disappeared, gone, spent, whatever, and then all of a sudden our hospital's bankrupt under their watch. And then when I look at what all it costs taxpayers for all these bonds, and I don't know, it's going to be a re-election coming up for people. It looks to me like it might be a little difficult for the public to swallow. And I will say we do have 2 new people that signed up to run. And anyway, that's good. Out of a community as big as Gainesville, it's our Gainesville Hospital District. It's one if there wasn't more. But anyway, I think it's kind of interesting, now when I look, we have 3 new people on the board from last year. And when I look at the last year, what's happened, when they come on, our hospital was kind of gaining headway and making a little money. And like Rod said, we had $8 million in our bank account. If appears now we're down to 5 million in the last month or two. And I'm sitting here kind of worried, which I've said several times to this board, about, looks to me like we're liable to end up in bankruptcy again, and that at least makes a good way to go to bankruptcy one more time and stick it on taxpayers. And kind of worries me about what's going to cost my children, my grandchildren, as far as the poor people out here that cannot pay their taxes and having a heck of a time of it. And it seems like we just put more and more on them. So I know when we went to bankruptcy court, I asked our chief appraiser how many people was delinquent on our taxes to the hospital at the 1st of July. And he said there was 2,400 people that were delinquent or making payments on the taxes. So I'm just kind of worried, you know, when I look at the money just eroding away that was in our bank account, and how much money did we really have? We gave away our accounts receivable to CHC. Any kind of a Medicare payment, we gave that away. To me, we probably could have had 10, maybe $12 million in our account. Another thing is also with bonds. In the last year and a half since me and Ken got on the board, it appears to me we've made at least $10 million. If we could have done that another year, it sure would have been nice to pay $10 million on our bonds without even asking the taxpayer for a dollar. But that all got thrown away with this lease. You know, whenever I seen there was $8 million in this bank account, I'm thinking, why don't we pay $5 million on bonds? Get that paid off. Get that part, $5 million paid off. And keep $3 million in case we have to do some repair on buildings or something that comes up. So that kind of got thrown away now by looking at the financials, so that won't happen. Another thing, this money keeps rolling out of our bank account. It ain't just coming back. We ain't making money off the hospital like we had in the prior. So that ain't gonna get back in our bank account, not like it's eroding. Another thing, if CHC goes bankrupt, the hospital goes bankrupt, at the rate the money's disappearing out of our bank account, we won't be able to make payroll. How in the heck are we gonna keep this hospital open if we run out of money? So, something to think about. Thank you. We do have 2 new people running, and I think they're both here, so thank y'all for coming.
For approval of the minutes from January 28, 2019. Had a chance to review those. Still a motion to approve those.
I'll make a motion.
Jimmy makes a motion. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Shane, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. January and February financials. Shelley's going to come and give us, show us really what's going on with the financials here.
First, I thought I would start with an update on your property taxes. I got an update this morning. As of the end of February, you had collected 92.35% of the taxes that were due. Last year, same date, it was 93.19%, so less than 1% difference as far as what we've collected year to date on that. Currently, we have a balance outstanding in February of $407,000, so that's what taxes are out there to be paid. Okay, so let me just kind of explain the layout of this. In order to get you a year-to-date financial, we had the operations of the hospital October and November, and then what's going on with just the district for these last 3 months. So this will give you a year-to-date column, and this is just a quarter-to-date. Because of doing financials every 2 months, I thought it might be interesting to just know how these first 3 months have worked out, since you no longer run the hospital. It starts at the top. If we look at January and February, you can see up here we have income. This is an estimate of next year, what you earn. So basically what the auditors had said to them when they came in November was we should be reporting 1/12 of the estimated taxes for next year. So in January, you earned 1/12 of what you're expected to collect next year when the bills go out. So you can see what we're doing is we're booking estimates based on the best numbers that we have, 1/12. And then this $56,000 and this $55,000 is $50,000 from the hospital rent, and then the rent payment from Lake Highland. So that's kind of what income, what you have coming in. Now, this is not a cash flow statement, this is a P&L, so actual cash collected of taxes over the last few months have been over $1 million a month. So this is not a cash flow. This is more just financials of matching up expenses and revenue when it's earned. Down here, you can see under purchase services, we have 44,000, those are legal. This $103,000 credit, last board meeting we talked about, we had gotten a bill in early December from the CRNAs, which was a 6-month income guarantee for April through October. And you guys had agreed to pay that, so then the auditors came back and said, no, that really needed to belong in September year end, because that's really when it was earned or an expense to us, when they earned it from us. So that's why we have that credit sitting out there. Under the repairs and maintenance, you can see in February, there's a $393,000. That's also related to the audit. When the insurance claim came in last year for the roof, it was booked as a liability because we knew we were going to have to place the roof. And then audit came in and said, well, what you really should have done was recognize that in income when you received it. And then you should have written off the loss of the roof against it. But we don't have an estimate of what the roof cost apart from the building. So there was really no way to say what the roof value was to write it off the books against that income. So what happened, they said, we took that into income last year, and then as we're paying for the roof, that's when it's getting expensed to repair and maintenance, because we don't want to put another roof on the fixed asset schedule and depreciate it when the old roof is still on there. So that's the reason that some of these look a little odd, but it's the way audit has told us that we should be doing it. And then you can see the little bit of the utilities, which is for the Lake Iowa property. And then under insurance, I think the reason this looks real odd is you guys had insurance, but then you were going to get a rebate on it, but you really needed tail coverage for the doctors. Which what it says, there's a claims-based insurance, and then there's an occurrence case insurance. And so claims, so the malpractice that you all carried had to do with claims filed during that period, but those doctors still have exposure for up to 2 years for the work they did while they were employed by you. So that $98,000 is to pick up that tail coverage that you need to cover you. And then the 12% is some rebates you got off of other insurance you had purchased that you no longer needed. So that's why that is that way. And then, of course, depreciation and amortization is based on the fixed asset schedule. And, and they had made some adjustments during the audit that flowed through then to this year. So that's why that looks like that. If you go all the way down to the bottom, then, of course, you can see, okay, so we were about right here, looking at what was happening for each month. And then, of course, we have the interest from the bonds. And then these incorporate the IGTs that you're doing for the hospital for indigent care. It goes to the state, and we get matching dollars to go with. So when you look at this, in December we had a $415,000 loss, $74,000 in January, and $113,000 in February. So for this quarter, we lost $603,000. But I think the real issue right here is $1.7 million of bond financing costs, and that's just a one-time thing. So that's not going to hit. Normally, your interest expense on the bonds is $150,000 to $170,000 a month. So if you add back, let's say 1.5 to this, you really have a $900,000 income for that period of time. What I did on here, so because I knew you were interested, is we split out the cash accounts, and you can see up here we started in December with $7.6 million in the primary account, and we're at $5 million. There's also another schedule that shows all the ins and outs that I'll talk about on that. And then down under the restricted cash, you can see this interest and sinking fund and the M&O fund. So as those revenue dollars come in each month, you can see this growing. And we'll show that on the cash flow what the tax revenue was. And then a percentage of the INS, or the money that comes in from taxes goes to the INS fund, and then a percentage of it goes to the M&O. So the balance, and then of course in this M&O we've had those IGTs that we talked about up here, and the other operating that were paid on our behalf. Is there any questions on that? I think the cash flow really will give you more information.
Well, your cash decreased really up there because of the loan back to the hospital, right?
Yes, that and yes.
Where does that show up on the liabilities?
It doesn't show up in liability. It It doesn't, right now, I think what she's done is, because I called her and asked her, because I thought that, go down to liabilities, I think what she's done is put it in the fund balance. Really based on the requirements of the agreement, it's a donation to the hospital. So I think what she did was she put it to, but we can move it. I'll call and find out if that's what it should be. So when we split the balance sheet between us and the hospital, we looked at what the hospital took, and then we looked at what you guys took of the balance sheet. So you kept the fixed assets, we took the leases, we took the inventory, the prepaid, and the accounts receivable. And then what the fund balance was and netted to and what you took was what was moved over here to the fund balance.
She doesn't go with this one, but anyhow,
Okay.
let's back up to the cash and everything, 'cause I sort of did a takeoff on that.
Okay.
In December, we had nearly $8,400,000 in the district operating cash account. At the end of February, we were down to $5.5 million. How did we spend almost $3 million in 2 months? I just skipped January, but anyhow.
Okay, well, let's go to the cash, there's a statement of cash flows in your book, and we look at that, because that really shows what actually happened to the cash account.
This is not in their book.
Oh, this is not in
This
this.
is what you gave me today, so.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so this is the activity that went through, can we get down to the bottom of where, no, okay, that's okay. Okay. So this is at the bottom. So we can see what the activity is up here. I'm sorry, okay. So when we start, we had accounts receivable payments come into the bank of $1.7 million in December, and I'm kind of going to go through all 3 months, because we did not.
We don't get that, so.
Because we didn't give this to you in December, but we actually went through and analyzed this. So that was the patient AR that was still going to your bank that belonged to the hospital. And then we had supplemental payments that came from the state based on what you IGT for us. That's what we got back from the state that of course hit your account. And then we had rents and refunds, and those are the $50,000 of rent that we're paying you each month plus the other rents that you collected. And then we had a transfer to your operating account from your restricted for the roof payment. So there was $202,000 sitting in a restricted account we moved over here so we could pay the bill, because all our checks are cut off of this account. Then we had, the requirement when we started was we released the employees from you for the month of December so that they would have one W-2 and we could get payroll set up. So that was what we paid you back for paying for our payroll. And then we had payments to suppliers and vendors, and I have some detail on this as well. This is actually a cash basis, so we had $592,000 in checks that were outstanding at the end of November that actually cleared the bank in December, plus some other payments we paid. One of the biggest things we had was we had a $500,000 cost report repayment for September year end. And that is an outstanding check at this point. We also had where we paid the CRNAs. We had $202,000 we paid for the roof payment, that would be showing up on that line. We had $117,000 for the CRNAs. We had $48,000 for Norton Rose Fulbright, which is an attorney. We had $37,000 for Hall Render, Killian, Heath, and Lyman. $20,000 was another cost report settlement on the 2014 year. We have the Cook County Appraisal District, we paid $28,000 a quarter to. There's one of those in there in February. We had another attorney's bill in February for $20,000, and then we had BKD and audit fee of $31,000. So these are all the checks that are clearing the bank as they're clearing, not necessarily as they're cut. And then the credit card fees for November activity hit December. The ones that hit for January and February we'll reimburse you for, because those are payments we're getting now. So, and then we had the payroll, our actual payroll that you paid on our behalf was $1.2 million. You can see we transferred a little bit more. We'll true that up when we go through all this. And then we had, as money comes in, and not day for day, but once a week we're transferring. So this $2.5 million is that $1.7 million that's coming in every day when we transfer it over to our hospital. So you can see that's not a 1-for-1. We transferred $2.5 million, but we had $1.8 million on those first two lines that was really our money. And then we did draw in January, we did draw on the working capital that was available to us in section 202. The first payroll in February, I think we borrowed 500, the second one we borrowed 700. The unfortunate thing on that 700 was we had payroll that had to be funded on Wednesday, and we got our supplemental payment from the state on the last day of the month. So in order to fund payroll, we had to borrow that money.
You
And
had
then
what?
I'm sorry, what?
That's what I said, what? You had the what?
We had to borrow the money because we didn't know when the state payment was gonna come in.
Borrowed the money?
Well, draw on the money.
From us.
The $1.2 million was
So
in
there-
from the district.
There is a difference, and that's what we agreed to do. We knew there was gonna be a lapse. We knew during this process, we talked about it, to make sure we were gonna backstop and not let the hospital fail. And that's what you're looking at, right?
So you didn't bring it to the board till now.
It's been,
It was in the, it was
I
like,
can't tell you how many times we talked about it here, bro. But
You know, it's
it's
just-
sometimes it's gotta be repeated several times for people to get it, I understand.
Somebody has to write checks, okay, but still, we should have been notified. You could have sent us an email, 1 today, 2 tomorrow, 3 the next day, so it would have been a board meeting. You know, you could have told us. When you look at these financials, I'm looking at the accounts receivable. I'm still hadn't heard where we spent $3 million last 2 months, okay? How much did we advance them?
It's right there. That's what she's talking
Which
about.
number? $1.2 million? So, our bank account has gone from 8 million down to 5 million. You guys got $1.2 million off of us. If we, we've done kept this up, now, are we going to advance you guys? Did we advance you last month for March? Are
No,
we gonna have to? Okay, so that means we got close to 5 million in the bank. We got 400 in the account.
And we advanced $1,700,000.
where are you getting the $1.7 million?
Yes, Jimmy, that's accounts receivable that's really was supposed to go to them, but it's.
No, and per the agreement, all the accounts receivable stayed with us, so that cash flow was here in order to get us started so that we could still pay bills as we went.
That's my little statement.
it showed the 400,000 payments to supplier vendors in February. Do you anticipate that going down, or what's I would assume we wouldn't have any,
Well, you've got a lot of one-time things, like the roof repair is kind of a one-time thing. The next month it will probably be 500 something.
But the roof repair,
At
is that
the,
included in the payments to suppliers and vendors?
It is.
It's up above on its own.
it's in one of these lines, I think it's in this one.
But still, this sheet right here details GCH, not Gainesville Hospital.
No, this is the district.
Gainesville Hospital?
That's all GCH.
That's your account, that's your
That's why we
operating
didn't
account.
get that in our.
That's our account.
Yes.
We getting in over $1 million a day. Why doesn't our bank account reflect that? That's what you said, that 1.7 million was there?
Well, because then we transfer it to us because that was the agreement.
We're not getting nothing out of the deal, is what I'm trying to say. Back to my point, we're down to 5 million. We got 4 million in reserves in the neighborhood, correct? That only leaves us about $1.5 million in the bank if we're looking, $1.3 million or $1.5 million. If we keep transferring money to you guys, we're gonna be broke.
Almost.
What happens when we get broke? Do we file for bankruptcy as Gainesville Hospital District?
You know, we went down this road before, which was a suggestion of mine, which is to have a workshop where you get to spend some one time with her, and what you'll find in those workshops is, if you participate in them, is you're gonna get a real good understanding of what you're looking at right here, and I've set them up, and I've tried to invite everybody here, and you wouldn't believe what you're gonna understand if you go and participate in these things. We won't end up with all these questions because you're not really understanding what you're looking at. You get the unlimited time, one-on-one time with this young lady, which I'm sure she would still be willing to do. I highly recommend that we set up a workshop.
Last year, Shane.
Yeah,
You
and we
talked
have.
this year.
I'm saying let's do them again, and we'll save a lot of time here, and you can get all your questions and really understand what you're asking when these
We understand
workshops.
what we're asking for. That's
I
the
don't
money.
think you
follow
do,
the money.
but that's
We're
my
We're
opinion.
all but broke. It wasn't for interest
Go
and
ahead.
sinking it up. Because our account, we wouldn't have any money, and that's restricted money. We're down to $1.3 million, Andy.
Let me tell you, no, we're not. That's
Not
not
even close.
that's not INS in there. That's, that's down below. contractually, when we leased this, we agreed as a board, maybe it was 7-2, but we agreed as a board, the majority of the board, to up to $3 million that CHC could draw from us. Because, remember, they were starting, they didn't come in here with an infusion of capital from, they took over the hospital as this hospital was working. Day one, all they had to work on was the accounts receivable. All those were changing in contracts and all that. So they actually did pretty good, only having to take 2 draws from us so far. And that, I thought that was really pretty good. The more, we got to remember something. We are in the healthcare business to support the lease, to be able to make, the more that they make, the more that we will be able to share in that. So we're trying to help them make something. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help them be successful and be
You're gonna
productive.
run out of money helping.
Well, we're not.
We're
not.
limited
If
on
you-
how much we can loan.
You just
Yeah,
got.
and it's not a loan again,
It's
but
not,
but
yeah.
it's available funds that we agreed to make. Guys, we knew this transition was not going to be smooth. We talked about it from day one. When you're changing the Medicaid, the care numbers, when you're doing that, you're going to have these gaps, and it was talked about, and we knew that those were going to happen. And the fact that we haven't had to cover more than that is a good sign. This is a process that's moving forward every day. And if you spend some time visiting with her outside of this meeting and get to understand that, you're going to feel more comfortable about it. But you got to spend the time to come in and visit.
Well, back to the point.
I'm not gonna get comfortable when our money's depleted.
Back to the point.
Period.
They got accounts receivable, we got cash in the bank. That accounts receivable was close to 12 million or a little over.
That's
On
not
paper it was, on paper it
Again,
was, and
again,
that's all we see is the paper.
again, if you'd spend some time up here,
So,
come up here and spend some time and understand what
You
you're
know,
talking about. I just ask you to do it to save us all time.
when you start getting into my hip pocket, that's a whole different ballgame.
Come understand. The people are here and willing to help you understand.
The only
We got some
problem,
good
the only,
people putting
only
this
problem with
together.
that is it's a good idea to come up here and go through all the finances. You come to the meeting. What's the people learn in the newspapers? They don't learn anything unless you don't bring it out right here in this meeting.
You're more than welcome to do that after you understand it, but to sit here and spend time on something that you're not understanding is wasting everyone's time.
I don't know that I don't understand
We
anything
make
myself.
money in March, is that what
Okay.
you're trying to tell me? That you guys won't have to come to us for any more money?
Shelley, move on.
Okay, well, right here, you were talking about the restricted, I just wanna point out, this is not in your cash above that we were looking at, this is your INS fund, this is growing with the tax revenue as it's coming in. The
That's what we
M&O
got.
fund has gone up and then down and then up because of the IGT payments that we make, that you make on our behalf to the state so that we can get some
Back
of
to
the
the
state
M&O
funding.
fund then, did we part with a couple $100,000, you guys on that?
More than that, it was like 400 and some thousand, matter of fact, I have that here. I can tell you how much it was each month. It was about 450,000 in December, 464 I think in January, and I wanna say 168 in February.
And remember, we're using the M&O fund to support indigent care program, all of those that we are giving that out.
Our indigent program?
For the IGT, you see that line down there, third from the bottom? That's the IGT. If we have to, as a district, we have to fund that IGT, and that IGT, because we fund that figure up on top, that 1 million, if you wanna rush up there, you look at that 451 right in December, 451, third line up, and then run up to the top real quick. Scoot up to the top.
Million two?
Like the same.
All the way up. Okay.
So 1,047,000 is
See?
what we got.
That's what you get when you spend 400 some thousand. We have to spend that as a district so that the hospital can have $1 million to be able to use. We have to spend that to get that, for the hospital to be able. And remember, we're in the business of healthcare. We're for the hospital to be able. They can't do that. We have to do that.
You know, Andy, we're gonna keep on, till we don't have anything.
That's just not true. Look at it. You know, I think it's really working out good, you just don't
It looks good
understand
on
that.
paper. It looks good on paper, it really does, okay? But I'm still saying, we got a little over $1.3 million cash in the bank. If we have to make any more.
What's it to pay?
$1 million.
Where do you get $1.3 million in the bank? We've got five.
You've got
5
5
million
plus the 4.
You take $4 million out, but it's in our interest and savings.
No.
Hey, Andy, move on, Shelley.
Okay, let me just clarify one thing. So we have this 5 million, which is sitting up here in the operating, and then down in the restricted is where your M and
We
O.
have the 4 million.
So you have another 4 million here.
That's right.
But is that in the same bank account?
No, these are all
You got two
specific
different-
accounts.
Now you're telling me we got different bank accounts for all this money.
Oh, yeah, each of these is a separate
We
account.
always
That's
have.
where I'm.
We always have.
That's where you're what?
That's where I would like to see that bank account, with numbers,
Christie's got them.
with numbers.
They have numbers on. Okay. Sure.
Okay.
Anything else?
Clear.
Cash wise, we're sitting on 9.1.
Yes.
If you put the 1.2 we've drawn, that puts us in the 11 plus range.
Said there was 2,000, one was 1 million, 2 million.
One was 500,000, the other was 700, for a total of 1.2 million. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that's the financial report, approve that? Huh? Okay. I have a motion to approve the financial report for January, February.
I make a motion.
Shane, second.
I'll second.
Emily, all in favor of approval of that, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, hospital board report, Emily, Jeff, you want to speak to that? You're on the board for the hospital.
So we met on February 27th, and basically what we did, we met the other board members. Dr. Kara was present, Dr. Larry Sears, Jeff and myself. Becky Silvera, I think is how you pronounce her last name. She works at one of the banks in town, and then Mike Hewlett is a local realtor. We had a board orientation, we adopted bylaws, went through quality measures, core measures, like we did in the quality committee that I was on before this, and really nothing stand out to report. We'll meet again next week.
No, it was a productive meeting.
The, I do, let me just add something. I was able to go down to a meeting this week, the conference that CHC had, and I wanted to share with you just some idea here. It's a thought that I would happen to be sitting by a gentleman, and I told him where I was from, the board of the Gainesville Hospital District, and he said, well, my name is Chuck so-and-so, and I'm an accountant in CHC. And he said, by the way, yeah, I remember doing a lot of your work, and said, and I got some good news to tell you. He said, we just had a geographic reclassification. And I thought, yeah, what is that? And he said, it's a reclassification because the hospital's up here in the rural area, but it's real close to Dallas. They were able to reclassify that to the tune of actually, for Medicare, of actually saving the hospital about $380,000 the first or next year. And you know, that reminded me from, that's why we did this lease. Because there's talent. I gotta tell you, I've never heard of that before. But they've got the talent to be able to do that. And that's what, we're really about that. I get really sad when I start hearing this innuendo, like we're burning money away or throwing it away. But it's all for the purpose of healthcare in this community, of making healthcare strong in this community and making it viable. Every dollar we have should go to that. We're a board. We don't have a responsibility to the day-to-day operation of the hospital, but we have a responsibility to this community for health care. And that should be our goal, to support CHC as much as we can possibly support them, because we want them to be successful. And they want to be successful. They need to be. So we're going to keep going on here, but I hope that we can start functioning as a district board. I'll give you I was talking to a hospital that had a district board that was on a lease with CHC. It's similar to us. And, I got to tell you, I really got jealous because she said, the district board and us, we get along great. And I said, my goodness. I said, I wish we did. You know, and it's really a shame because we can, if we stop fighting about things and start moving towards really pushing
We
about
also
getting
have
health care. I don't think you are, because you just fight against things all the time. And if we could just, every one of us I know has a desire to do what's right for the healthcare in this community. We've spent a lot of money to try to get it into the hands of professionals that can do it right, and we've got to now support them. We're just moving through this transition period, but we've got to support them. And I just really implore all you board members to really support that. I know most of you do, and so we're going to go on with item number 7, which
We
is
also have
voting.
a responsibility and duty to represent the taxpayers of this district.
Absolutely, and we want to give them the biggest bang for their buck. If they're paying taxes, let's give them the best health care we possibly can. That's what we're about. They're paying the money, let's give them good health care. And let's take it from there. Number 7, a discussion on physician recruitment assistance to Gainesville Community Hospital. This came, I brought this and put this on the line item here for discussion because it was asked of me concerning losing some doctors at a local clinic. And I thought, well, it's not we're not going to get into the twigs of how CHC runs their business. We want to know that they're successful and stuff like that, but I think it's more important that if we think there's a lack of physicians in this community, the board needs to come together of what we can do to help support physician recruitment in this community. That's what we should be about. And those are the kind of thinkings that we have to start changing as a board. Start thinking, what can we do to help physician recruitment in this, help the GCH, board and that group with physician recruitment. So I just wanted to put that out there as a discussion for you, and that let's not get into micromanaging things that we ought not be micromanaging, but let's look at the strategic plan overall of what can we do to support this lease, support this group for doing the job that we brought them in to do. I think they're doing it.
Any position we got down at, right now?
Well, Tom will answer that. I mean, he's got his finger on the pulse. Now, I don't want him to necessarily have to answer to us as board because he doesn't. But for you, if you want to know, he can tell you.
So,
Yeah.
I'll stand up here so everybody can see. The recent situation with the changes of providers at the rural health clinic was if you would, a domino effect. We had some local providers who were at the urgent care center who decided they were going to go out on their own. There are 3 of those that left a void at the urgent care center. So the urgent care center waved some big cash, I will say, waved a big number at our providers, and 2 of them specifically, and said, hey, we're going to pay you this. And so both of them came up and said, I'd love to retain you. As long as we can be good stewards of your money, of the county's money and the district's money, because that's who this all belongs to, then, we'll match that. We'll make a matching offer. Dollar for dollar kind of thing, but it's, the way the structure of what was offered to a couple of those folks was more on the salary side than more on the benefits. So when you look at something, I want to be a good steward of our resources. So I'm not going to make a crazy offer to retain somebody that wanted to leave. In the meantime, we still have a couple of providers there. We have 2 at the time who were out on maternity leave, but we have some great people who raised their hands and said, hey, I'll step in as PRN, which is part-time if you want to call it that. So we've got the backfill there immediately. We also have already hired a nice young lady who's already started there, and we're targeting, I hate saying it, but we've got more nurse practitioner resumes than we know what to do with, so we're sifting through to make sure we find the right ones. So that's a good problem to have. So we're going to make sure we get the right person for our team. So it's a good, in the end, it's a good thing. Yes, there might have been a week where we were rushing to get all the patients seen, but we make sure we get them seen. So in the meantime, too, after those folks that left to go to the urgent care center, we want to make sure we are good partners with all of our physicians, all of our providers in the community. So I offered them the same thing. Hey, we'll give you a PRN part-time rate until you get your feet wet over there. And so they were actually, after they gave their notice, actually worked for us a few more days anyway. So it's a, in the end, yes, there was a fruit basket turnover. What that means to me is the group that left, when they formed their own clinic, that is another group of providers in the community that is going to be available to see patients, and we can work with as a partnership in the community. So, which is always a good thing to have more providers.
I was by there today and I didn't see any people, any cars there except in front of the old, store that was there.
Yeah.
We didn't seem to have any.
What time did you run by there?
I was through there around, 10:30.
So patients, I mean, I can't guarantee they're going to be patients there at any time, but they're open. All of our, to make sure that we do have good access, we have our folks park next door. That is our property as well. Yeah. You can drive out anybody's, sometimes not see patients.
Every time I've been by there, they've been stacked in there like four.
Yeah.
And now, I'm not seeing the patients there, so I was just curious.
Yeah, so like I said, there was like a week where we were down a little bit because the ones out on leave, and we had a couple there, holding the fort. But we're good. We're good. We've got some good providers coming on board, so, and we had some good backfill to fill in too.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Next discussion item is IRS audit. We received a letter from the Department of Treasury they're doing an audit on the general obligation refunding bonds of 2007. And one of the things they had asked in here, we routinely examine municipal debt issuances to determine compliance with federal tax requirements. So we talked to Chris Jannings about it. There's some things we have to give to them, and so he's on it. And talked to Kevin Reed about it, and he also says that this is not unusual. What they do, they pick up some and do audits on it. So I just wanted to keep you appraised of that. We have that audit going on, but don't anticipate, obviously, anything coming from it, because Chris assures us that everything is from the 2007 bond issue, so it's kind of crazy. He thinks it has to do, remember when Christianity thinks it has to do with when we were in the early throes of doing business with TMC, that was a proprietary organization, and the bonds we were talking about were a different kind of bond than the not-for-profit type. So that may have stirred it. He doesn't know. It's just speculation, but it may have just been they put their finger in the hat and pulled out us. So we'll keep you apprised as to what the results of that is, though, when it comes down.
Those 2007 series bonds, was that 2007?
Well, it's the series, the 2007 series. I don't know. It's the 24,000, so I suspect it probably was that particular group of obligation bonds.
That's going to be this building right here.
Yeah, it is. That's okay. Yeah. Well, it wouldn't have been the first time because we built it in 2003, 4. Discussion on banking services proposal timeline. Another discussion. Ken sent me a letter. He wanted to make sure we talk about this going out for requests for banking institutions to I guess bid for our services. One of the things that we did do that. We did it by earlier board, but one of the things that's been taking a little longer was we are in this situation, where a lot of the accounts receivable comes in, it goes out to another account. There's just so many different flows of money and large money that continues to keep coming in, not the least of which is tax money that keeps coming in. So we need a little more time, and that's we're asking for the point of sending out those RFPs in April to get a response, give them 60 days to get a response in July for approval date to start in August. That's what we are looking. That allows the change of ownership to be completed for the new entity, and everything gets just smoothed out. I know, Ken, you said leave 25,000 in an account. It don't work that way, but I'm sorry.
It stays open though.
Yeah, but that may work when you're dealing with 25,000, but when you're dealing with millions of dollars, it's not worked that way.
We're not supposed to be spending any money.
Yeah, well, it's a transferring. We're not spending money, we're transferring it because it's coming in one, we got to send it out on another. There's a lot that actually is involved in that. So that's what, for discussion, I don't know if you, I hope that's okay with you. That's about the quickest we can do.
I'm totally for the process. It's just,
Yeah.
it just needs to settle out. This flip over needs to settle out. And we're getting closer to that every day.
And we send this notice out to the banks and everything, the bidding on their services. They come back to us, will it be sealed and open in
Yeah, we can open it at a board meeting, in that July board meeting. We bring it to the July board. Okay. Just on, again, the last note there, I don't have to put too much more because I already talked about strategic planning, but please be thinking about that and, about what, I really want to implore all of us as a board to start thinking differently because we are no longer a hospital, but we're a healthcare entity that is responsible for really still healthcare in this community. I think we've gone into a wonderful partnership with CHC. It's, I know you've read some things in the paper and, you've shared with me. I didn't know about that stuff either. I want to assure you, all of you, these guys, we haven't met since January. we haven't even talked. So we're not trying to keep things from you. It's just the wheels of having this thing move forward. I come up here a lot and talk to Christy, and I'm aware of things that are going on, but there's really, unless you want me sending you out little notices on email saying nothing to report today, I can do that, but I don't usually report things that are kind of going on unless there's something specific to report. And I know for some of you that seems like I'm not being transparent, but honestly, it's not. The things that got put in the paper, we didn't know about them. But it's you talk about a thing about, or maybe Rod did talk about where we have an FBI investigation. I can't tell you any more about that because that's out of our hands. We don't know, and nor can we find out. That's in the FBI's hands. We just know that it's moving forward, and we don't have any kind of information on that. And if we did, you would know it.
So one thing to add there is when you talk about strategic planning, I can't believe everybody on this board doesn't want and doesn't expect. I expect, not year 1, year 2, year 3, but we expect the hospital to become profitable under the management of CHC. And when we're splitting the revenue down the road of the profitable, we're in the very early stages of supporting these guys. They're in the very early stages of getting their head around this monster every day. And they're fixing things every day. If you spend some time with Tom, there are 99 great things going on here every day. And sometimes we're focused on the 1% of bad, and that's sad. Because there's a lot of wins happening every day. But we keep finding a way to focus on the 1% that is continually being fixed. And there's going to be a time when this hospital's making money. And we're going to be profit sharing with that. And what's going to be exciting and what I look forward to is taking those profits and doing exactly what you talked about, Jimmy. Applying those profits to our bond obligation and lightening the taxpayers' obligation. That is the goal. That is the long-term strategic plan, on top of providing really, really good health care.
I'm glad to hear that's on the Corey.
So that's a really quick look at what the strategic plan ought to be.
Well, we just need to be invested. We should be invested in this community.
You talk about, we can't go micromanage. I'm not gonna come down here and chat with Shelley, Tom, Christie, that's micromanaging. I expect you, the executive board, to keep us up to date.
Well, we do when there's changes, but again, you have to tell me what your expectations are, because I'll do it. If you want me to send you out something every week just saying there's nothing new going on, just to know that I'm aware, I'll do it. But I don't generally send out things like that unless there's something that changes. And we're in such a flux right now, there's not a whole lot of information I can give you. I got to tell you, I do pay attention to the dollars, and I think that they're being very good stewards with what they're doing and working for our side and the district side of it, as well as the hospital side. And again, we're not dealing with ruthless people. We're dealing with professionals who really know what they're doing. And and I'm watching and I'm trusting. I'm very district oriented here and paying attention to this. But you see, the difference being is I understand these, but I can't. There's not a way that I know how to get you to understand what I understand. It took me years to understand that stuff.
Let me put it to you this way. When you go check the CHC for $1.3 million, you should have had Christie say, send each one of us for notification. We just let CHC borrow $1.3 million or whatever.
It's not a bar.
And I would not have been pissed off.
Well, you know what? I appreciate that. I'll take that as a constructive criticism. I will. We had it in the lease agreement. We do it, so we're doing just what we're supposed to do. But if that's a good constructive criticism, if we have to do large numbers like that, I'll make sure that I get that out to all of you and
It
say
should
this
have
is
been
what we've
done.
done. I will do that.
Anytime there was money spent like that, we should have got a notice from you saying that we spent the money.
Well, my bad.
Because it's
I did
funny,
it
we
based on
show
the
up,
lease.
we show up here at a meeting and then here's what we hear. That should have been sent to us as a board when it got done, in my opinion.
At least for information.
That's right.
Okay, I'll take it as constructive criticism and I'll do it.
And I know you
I'll
say
change
you
it.
want to send an email every week saying there ain't nothing happening. Shane just said something's happening every day.
Well, but not
So,
concerning us.
anytime an update would be great.
Yeah, not concerning.
Instead of waiting 2
I'm not
months
going
till-
to I'm not going to send you weekly updates on what the hospital's doing,
No, I don't
Okay.
want to micromanage.
because that's not our business anymore, other than the fact that we want healthcare to succeed.
When I walk in, when I get my board packet and I see 8 million down to 5 million, where did it go?
Okay, I will,
The email would have said, hey, we loaned 1.3, that was 1.3.
I'll make sure I do that.
And then the third page that they showed a while ago, I never got it. I mean,
Well,
Well, none of
we
us did,
just,
did
we didn't.
I
we didn't.
understand, but I mean.
That
it
actually,
should send-
that came about because of what you were requesting. And we're, again, like I said, we're in the throes of trying to figure out what it is that we want her to report to us. And when I came in here tonight and saw that thing, I thought, yeah, this would be great. Matter of fact, I thought that's the only thing she needed to show, because that's what really shows everything. You know, so,
Well, I hope you'll send it to me. And, that way I can look at
well,
it.
we'll understand it. Now that we know, we'll understand it a little better, so. it can-
Yes, since I received it today, I'll email it to y'all.
Thanks.
Okay, let's go to our action items. Actually, I'm gonna, do have to have an action table on the budget. Yes, okay. The number 11, Shelley's just not ready for the budget yet. Again, it has to do with just getting all of our stuff understood. So when do you suppose next meeting that we can have a budget? So I'd like a
Make a motion, I'll make a motion to table it to the next
Okay,
meeting.
if you would.
Second.
A motion by Darrell, second by Lisa. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consider and approve joint polling agreement. Let me turn that over to Christie on number 12. She's our election person.
In your packet, under section 12, you should have a joint polling agreement between the city of Gainesville, Gainesville Independent School District, Gainesville Hospital District, and CTC. As of right now, we're the only entity that will be having an election, but because it's all in one space, we still have to sign the yearly agreement. I just need your approval for that agreement.
Oh, we needed to.
Make a motion that we authorize Danny to enter into this agreement with the city and county.
Ken, a second.
All entities.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, same sign. Consider improved notice of election.
Okay, I may give y'all more information that you want on this, but again, under the next tab, 13, I have even, is it in red? Everybody should be in red for changes. Okay, so the first change we made is the precinct at 28 was moved to the Gainesville Civic Center. That is due to, it was previously at the Callisburg High School. We had all entities, including the county, do some meetings this year to look at our precinct locations, how many people were coming to them to make sure that we were doing the betterment for our voters. We talked about this a little bit last year, how we made some changes. We would see how they played out and go from there. right. I'll pull up the election.
So where
map.
will Callisburg be voting?
We'll get to that. Let's talk about precinct 28 first. So this is precinct 28. This is the city of Gainesville. Your precinct 28 was having to go all the way up here to vote. So that is 110 registered voters. Does it mean that's 110 voters? It's 110 registered voters. So precinct 28 was not in the Callisburg School District. It was actually in the Gainesville School District when we looked at the people. So we made a determination. NCTC and Gainesville Hospital District moved precinct 28 out of Callisburg's and moved it to the Gainesville Civic Center.
Sounds good.
Okay. The second one is the Lake Kiowa location. So we know for the past 3 years we've had issues with finding a good polling location for Lake Kiowa. That involves precinct 22 and precinct 8. Last year we tried it inside the gates, which is about right here where my little cursor is. We had multiple complaints with regards to access to the polling location. So we all met again, Callisburg ISD, NCTC, and the Gainesville Hospital District met. And we had multiple discussions looking at the amount of voters that we had coming in, where could be an alternate location that we could vote. Next issue we had was consistency for the voters. So our precinct 8 came to Lake Kiowa to vote. For Callisburg, precinct 8 went right here where this X is to the Callisburg Elementary School. So for our voters to vote, they were having to go to 2 locations, which that's not the best thing we want for them. So we all came to an agreement that we would use Callisburg Elementary as our joint polling location for precinct 8 and 22. So that gets rid of Lake Kiowa as a location. I know Lake Kiowa people may
So
find
where's
that.
7?
7 and 6 go to the high school.
Okay, County Road 211, that would be 7.
6, 7, and 9 goes
6, 7, and 9.
to high school.
Sounds good to me.
So 8 and 22. So again, they're going anywhere from 1.4 miles to 9 miles in a mileage transition of changing to go from Lake Kiowa to the elementary
It
school.
would be worth 9-mile drive not to have to go hunt it in Lake Kiowa.
I agree. So we all made a decision. It did go to Callisburg ISD. Their board approved it. However, they have now canceled their election, so they're not having an election, but it was approved by their board, bringing it to y'all for approval. We did have to, as my letter state, get it posted to the Cook County Clerk's Office and the voter registrar, just so that way I could get my voting information. I had to get my early voting ballots and get things going. But
If we
once
go
get this-
to Woodbine School, is there any other election or is it just hospital?
This year, it'll be just hospital, because NCTC and Callisburg ISD canceled their election. But for future, we hope.
I know going into
we'll all be
Kiowa is a real problem. It'd be worth the drive.
People outside, yeah.
And the next change was Era Community Center. We always thought, as a board, that portion 14 always belonged to Munster. There was never any Gainesville Hospital District voters in that. When we reran the reports for this year, we found 3 voters that actually are in the Gainesville Hospital District that are in precinct 14. So we added the
Where's
portion of
14 on the map?
Well, I minimized this, so I was
Oh.
focused on that, but it's actually over here to let, it's
Yeah,
on the
I know.
Munster line.
I don't think.
Yeah.
So would that be in Myra or outside of
Mine
town?
was in Munster.
Based on the 3 people's
Yeah.
names, it looks like it's more in that Sybil's Bend area, like where the Sybil's Bend comes down and meets 82, I guess. That's
The 14.
for 14.
County Road 414?
I have to go back and look at my other maps. This is my.
So
paper.
where will they have to go?
They will go to the Era Community Room,
Wow, that's a long drive.
so, yeah.
3,
But there's
they can
There's
carpool.
3, but we never knew they existed before, so I mean.
Early vote.
But there's
Early
only
vote.
3 of them, right?
Or mail
So,
ballots.
so these 3 they never knew it either.
They may
Are
not
gonna
have,
get, are
and
you
they
gonna
just
send
may
them a
have
letter
just
to let them
registered to
know?
vote. So, no, it'll be on their voter registration card when they got it, it'll tell them where their location is. And then we're gonna officially publish our notices, and that is our public announcement to the community.
Did Lake Kiowa have anything to say about this? Maybe you talked to them?
Like Kiowa, no, sir.
Hadn't talked to them. I wouldn't either.
It's not really.
They
It's not that far.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be too, yeah. If Kalispell ISD was okay with it, I think we'll be fine. Then precinct 19, it is the dividing line. Y'all can see 20 here. Gosh, I wish I would have brought the other map too. So it keeps on going, and 19 is right past Lindsay. So a lot of our Lindsay members were having to drive all the way to Era to go vote. So what we did is we did a spot map with the county and said, show us all of precinct 19's voters, where they live. So we could see it on a red dot. And we said, okay, now we want to look at it and see how far is the drive from where they are to Era to Lindsay. And there was more voters that were closer to Lindsay. So as a unity again,
19's
NCTC,
gonna be southwest
Westville
of
District.
Lindsay.
So there's 365 voters, registered voters for that precinct 19. We moved them to Conrad Hall instead of them driving out to Era. We
Get
think
out
we
to
may
where
get a
you
better.
quarter lived. Only about that way, that's 19.
So those are our changes this year for the notice of election. I just need your approval.
We still got 19 votes in Conrad Hall on the sheet.
Right, that's what we moved them to Conrad Hall. They were in Era.
They were here.
Yes, sir.
So, considering approving notice for election, do I hear a motion?
Make a motion.
Hang on a second. You know, I'm just sitting here thinking about the people at Kiowa. You know, it's kind of a retirement village. They're very familiar with Kiowa. You know, how many voters is not gonna wanna drive in Kiowa, which is most of that 19 is gonna be Kiowa. Make them drive all the way to Kalispell, Elementary, Woodbine. And the thing about it is they can't go out the other back ways out of Kiowa. They gotta come all the way down and go all the way around 3164 to get there, which is a pretty good drive.
Okay, if they leave from this gate and go this direction,
Yes,
it's 9 miles. If they leave this gate and go
Take
this
to 11,
direction, it's
yeah.
7.9.
You also have the east gate, which is right about where it says Colt Drive, down below that.
All right.
can they go out there?
They
Yes.
can't, so you can't go out there, which is,
So that one was
I mean,
3.8 miles.
I live on the east side of Lake Kiowa, and, you know, depending on where I'm going, if they're living in the north, I guess it'd be west corner of Kiowa, it's gonna be a long drive for them regardless, because they're gonna drive through all those winding roads. But
I know the road going to the west out of Kiowa is shut. I mean, they don't want to get out there.
Trucks and stuff here and
yes, but they have public access in and out of it. So
So let me give y'all some numbers. For 8 and 22, total registered voters is 2,890 voters. Last year, we had 368 voters that voted. The year before, we had 191. In 2016, we had 205.
Well, we can try it and I hope the numbers go up.
Okay. I got a motion by Darrell, a second by
Second.
Lisa. Okay, all in favor of approving the notice of election, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And then the consider and approve the resolution for the May meeting date. We have, the meeting date, the last Monday of May is a holiday.
It is. In prior discussion, Joe had looked at changing it to the 20th. I just need Joe to confirm a date. I want the 28th, I want the 20th.
Does 20th look good for everybody? Okay. Is that, now,
On duty,
we also,
so I can do something.
Okay, so the 20th, it looks good. We have a regular May meeting on the 20th. Do I have a motion to approve that? Second? Same. All in favor of changing the May meeting to the 20th of May, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. It's, there, let me just fill you in on another thing that I just actually found out this morning. You had on our meeting last month, or last January, you gave the executive committee the ability to deal with this house down here. We thought we could get rid of it for free, and we can, but the people that will take it for free will not clean up the concrete unless they get paid for it. So they're asking for $4,000 to clean up, remove all of the debris from it. Huh? No, that's Hitchcock. No, they're local.
So they'll take the house for free,
Take the house for
if we want them to clean up, it's $4,000.
Yep.
So do we want to maybe look at bidding that part out and see if we can do better?
We can look at a couple others.
Maybe we should.
I'd say put an ad in the paper and see if you can't come up with a better deal.
We'll put out a couple others and see if we can. I just, like I say, it just called me this morning, and so I thought, well, I got a board meeting tonight, so I'll take it. See what we do. So I'll just, I'll continue to look and see what we got. I guess it's not gonna hurt anything staying there unless vagrants get in. So the only thing is Robbie gets to make the motion. for
I'll
us.
make that motion. And one more thing. I know it brought up the website. Everybody remembers we set up the new web district website, which is, here's the ghdtx.com.
Yes, sir.
So the Gainesville Hospital District website is completely separate from the North Texas Medical Center. So the North Texas Medical Center, I think, has a link, right, Tom? That pushes it to the Gainesville Hospital District, but the new website where you posted everything, correct?
And I'll just give a little bit of announcement, the media is not going to get them, email them to them every time, because the reason we did that previously is because it took our IT department maybe till Saturday or Sunday to get it posted to our link. I'm actually doing the dropping, so the moment I drop it, it's live. So I'm doing it, as soon as I go post it on the board, I'm coming back and dropping it, it's live for everyone to see. The reason why we used to email it out to the media was because of the fact of the delay. We wanted them to be able to have it to review for the weekend.
Try to keep this smooth, folks. Got a motion to adjourn, second?
Second.
Okay, Jack. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
God bless you.